Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Come on in. I know it's been a while. It's been a while. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, we made it. We made it to be here again. Yay! That makes me very happy. Hello. I'm just opening some new pens that I got, so come on in. Wow, that's tight security on these pens, everybody. Tight. Tight security. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, look at there. Look at that. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so cute. Cute. Oh my goodness gracious. That may be my new favorite one. We'll have to see. I've got several here. Extra pens, so that's good. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. I'm just opening up some new pens. Give everyone a chance to get their notifications. Hello. Hopefully, I'm hoping my chat's on. Oh, there we go. Yes, my chat's on. Yay! Yes, I'm feeling better. It's been a bit of a process, but I'm definitely better than I was. Good evening. Hello, hi Kaya. Hello, Jennifer. Yeah, the last few days have been, yikes, not great, not very good. Ooh, look at that one. It says grow your mind. Oh, thank you. Yes. This is the Etsy shop for anyone who's interested. Here. Yeah. Hello. Hi, Miss Betharoni, Ariana. Lee, hello. Willie B, a girl in her brushes. Welcome. Yeah, I think they're pretty nice. I love to hang out on the Etsy. So many people. Etsy used to be such a big whoop-de-doo, you know. Happy Valentine's Day to you too. And then kind of not as much recently. So I try to go on and give a little shout out to the small businesses. So are they hard to write with? No, they're not. And what's fun too, though, is that when I'm doing my lives, I'm reading a lot. So I'm not writing a lot. I'm not sure I want a pen like this if I was, having to write an essay. But for the amount of writing that I do, I think it's going to be okay. So I love it. I love a cat with the glasses. Yes, cat with the glasses makes me happy. Right now, everybody, get that serotonin wherever you can, all right? Just go grab it wherever you can. Having to use bigger pencils because they didn't fit my hand. Yes, of course. I still feel bad for all the lefties in my school because, back in the day when we didn't have any lefty desks, we might have had one or two, but that was about it. Oh, I feel so bad. Used to have a successful crochet. Oh, really? Baby booties. Oh, had to close. Oh, yeah, the arthritis. Oh, I understand. One of my favorite things to do was puzzles, and I love to do a jigsaw puzzle. And on New Year's Eve, especially, I would do a jigsaw puzzle with my mother-in-law, and we had so much fun doing it. And we actually share the same birthday, and so sometimes we would do that as well. But unfortunately, yep, as time goes on, I was no longer able to do crossword puzzles anymore, and so that was a bit of a bummer. So I understand. I hear you. And it's hard when you can't do what you used to be able to do. It's really hard. It's a struggle. It's a bit of a struggle. So I swear when I walk past the mirror sometimes I'm like, wait, who are you? I'm like, oh look, I guess it's just me. Oh my goodness. Hello. So welcoming everybody. Hopefully everybody saw my post on the Good evening, Kat. Hello. On my TikTok and also here. I know I've kind of been out of commission for the last few days, so I'm back. I'm sorry about that, everybody. But things happen and life goes on. Reading through the changes already made to the government workforce. Oh my gosh, I know. Oh, I know. There's a lot. There's a lot going on. It really is a lot. Because there's so much, I thought I would start tonight by kind of going through hello, Robin, going through the lawsuits that have been filed just to catch everybody up on it and give you um, the case numbers so you can pull those. And then I wanted to go through probably a couple of his most recent executive orders, everybody. Take a peek at those. So I think that'll give us a great start. No, no, no. No, here's the place where I was able to get them here. So we'll be here when oh, you're so sweet, Kay. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So I'm thinking, I don't know. I kind of like the rainbow one. Let's do the rainbow one. That always makes me feel happy. Rainbow, yay! Always take care. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. So, and things continue to change, everybody. No, it's gay. Well, then off you go. Off you go. I think anything rainbow and sparkly and happy is all right. So yeah, so you can go ahead and go to another place if you don't like the rainbows here. But everyone is allowed here, except for two particular groups, and I've already named those groups previously. But everybody else is all welcome. So we're going through a lot right now. I tried to kick it out. Is it a bot? Is that where we're at? We're at a bot. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. There we go. There we go. We'll take care of it. No problem. No problem. Yeah, we're all friends here. We might be different, but we don't hate on anybody except for the two groups that are hate groups. That's where Indiana Jones and I agree completely. So, yeah, it was a little bit different. Oh, good evening. Hello, Ellie. Hello, hello. On the TV. Oh my gosh, go for it. Go for it. So, let me see. What was I talking about? I got sidetracked. Yeah, so what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I did the last live I did, everyone, was a Q&A on Sunday. So this is my first one back. If you're thinking you missed some, you haven't. I've been I've been on the struggle bus. So, but I'm making a comeback here. There's a lot of litigation that's been going on regarding Mr. Trump's executive orders, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of problems with his executive orders being constitutional. Hi, John. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. So a lot of litigation is up and running, and several people had told me it was a Q&A, Cynthia. I'll post it here up on YouTube probably tonight or tomorrow. So I found several people had pointed me to justsecurity.org when it comes to his lawsuits, everyone. And they've done a great job, I think, of putting all of the lawsuits together, because there's just so I've got my little notebook and I'm taking notes and things, and I'm like, what? I'm missing I'm missing quite a bit. So this is just great, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew that this resource was available. So I thought we could go through this, and then again, there are a couple of executive orders here that are a little bit, yikes, like protecting Second Amendment rights. Like, what? Thought we could go through those too. But again, just as a reminder, everyone, I am moving here to the tube. I may pop over to TikTok a few times again to kind of go and, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yes, my Valentine's nails. To go and say hi to everybody, of course, over there, but I'm really trying to make a home over here. I would like to eventually just land here. And not just because TikTok is, on the cutting board. It's also the cutting floor, the cutting board. Either way, it's going to get cut, right? But also, it's like it's a lot more fun over here, in my opinion. I don't have to see if all of my posts are going to be, kept to the side or kicked out, or if I'm going to get some kind of violation for an emoji. So I'm having a great time over here. So I'm absolutely not much calmer over here. Yeah, I'm not going full time back at the TikTok. I know several people were asking me that. Fair question, fair question. I will be kind of popping around, but it's totally getting cut. Yeah, it really is. There's trouble. I tell you, trouble in River City when it comes to that. But it's just much. It's nice over here, everyone. It just is. So I will be over here. I will probably try to do another live, probably tomorrow on TikTok, but we'll see how things go. But I'm back and here I am. Thanks for bearing with me. It's really weird now. They're even moderating our Oh yes. Oh yes, Willie B. Yes. Yeah, you have to be careful. You really do. That was one of the things too about Facebook, is that you have to be really careful about Messenger and so on. So yeah, you just gotta, yeah, just be careful about what's going on. But this idea that's been floating around about the US government buying, half of it or whatever, it's like that's suspicious. So like, see you later, everybody. And so here we are. So welcome in, everyone. Hopefully everybody got their notifications okay, or were able to see the post that I made here, as well as over on the talk, so that you knew I'd be coming in tonight. So welcome on in. Now, I do want to start with just an overview here of our litigation that's going on. There is so much stuff going on, everyone. I know it's really overwhelming. I mean, we've got articles of impeachment that are getting tossed around, judges that are getting tossed around. I mean, there's just a lot going on. So I thought, well, let's just start the litigation. So again, this is out of Good News for Lefties. Really? Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Anytime I can, give a shout out to the left-handers, I'm not, but I have a lot of amazing people in my world who are. So anytime I can give a shout out, I'm like, sorry about that, Southpaws. So here we go. It's justsecurity.org, and here they've got this litigation tracker. They're going to start with the most current one here, and I will just start taking you through that. So the category first will be immigration and citizenship, because we have a lot regarding a lot of executive orders. So that's kind of what we'll be going through right here. Take all the good news I can get. Oh, I know. So here's the first one that will set out the cases, 14160, and these are available on the Federal Register. So thank you, John. You can look them up yourself if you are interested. So let's take a peek here and see what the cases are. New Hampshire Indonesian community support versus Trump here. It was filed January 30th, and this has to do with Trump's executive order seeking to revoke birthright citizenship for children of undocumented immigrants on the basis that people in the United States illegally are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So this is a key phrase that they're using in this litigation, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And we've talked about this a few times. I did go through and read this order that I thought was very well written, going into the art case and various other things. Thank you so much, Alice. I appreciate that. So we have gone through this quite a bit. Now we've got an injunction that was put into place on February 10th. So again, we're just kind of, I'm going through here and I'm showing you the case numbers. So for anyone who is interested in pulling these cases up, we'll just do this overall view. How do the bots or I really don't know, man. I don't. It seems like no matter where you go, except for on Instagram, because no one's on Instagram, but they just find you. They find you no matter where you go. They just keep looking. They find you. Although I have to say, over on the Blue Sky, I have had much less trolls than I had anticipated. So I'm excited about that. All right, so we'll just call this case number 1 at this point. So here's our first one. We've got this next one. DOE, Brazilian Worker Center, La Colaborativa, I'm going to say that wrong, I apologize, versus Mr. Trump. Again, this is another birthright citizenship case. And the same kind of argument, right? Subject to the jurisdiction thereof. But we have a group of pregnant women. This is one of my favorite cases here, everyone. Pregnant women whose children would not receive citizenship sued. This was the one I think I actually read through. I think I have posted that live already as well. So while you wash your hair, oh, perfect, perfect. That works out great. And she goes through the 14th Amendment, the judge does here. So she does, it's a great case. This is one I've, got my eyes on. And, that executive order, as soon as it was supposed to be active, anybody born would not then have citizenship. So it's a weird situation because during that period, if it's 4 or 5 days, think about how many babies in the United States are going to be born, right? So we're going to have some troubles with that. So that's what the judge was saying here too. It's like, wow, we got to get this sorted out. You can't just do this because first of all, it's unconstitutional. Second of all, some people are going to get tangled up in here. So we'll just call this one case number 2. Next, we have State of New Jersey versus Donald Trump. The New Jersey case that I've been watching had been the one regarding losing his liquor license. I've not looked that one up recently. I wonder if he did lose his liquor license. That would be nice. We've got some government entanglement issues going on right now that, I'm surprised the media is not going after. Mr. Trump being on a board of on some kind of a board, and where his conflicts of interest, and then with Elon as well, like he's got huge conflicts of interest and those aren't really being dealt with. So yeah, that's it's concerning. We can always go back and clean it up, but it takes more time and energy, of course, to do that. Right, so this is our next one here, executive order again, the birthright citizenship with that same piece to it. Attorneys General of 22 states, the District of Columbia and the City of San Francisco. This was a huge one again. This is one to keep your eye on because we have so many states involved, and so you've got a lot of power there. When you have states suing the administration, the federal administration, they're going to have the money to go forward on it. Unlike when you have private litigants here, eventually they could run out of money, which tends to be what Mr. Trump likes to do is, take it as far as he can until the other side runs out of money and is unable to continue. And it's great when we see our attorney generals coming in because then we know that we'll be able to go forward still for a little while. Next up, again, these first cases are all on birthright citizenship, everyone. I'm just reminding everyone what cases they are and highlighting the case number here. So next up, we've got Casa v. Donald Trump. This was filed on the 21st, and I think I read through this one on a live as well. Plaintiffs, including immigrant rights organizations CASA and ASAP, as well as individual immigrant parents, argued that the executive order violates the 14th Amendment. So that was another one I did read online as well. So these birthright citizenship cases, everybody, are just, it's a lot. It takes up a lot of time. We do have temporary restraining orders put in, so none of these are going to be in place. But again, all of this takes a little time, as we all know. Next, we've got State of Washington versus Donald Trump, and I went through that one as well. Just briefly, we've got 5 updates here. So a temporary restraining order, along with an opinion, and plaintiff's motion for a preliminary nationwide injunction. So nationwide injunction here. February 7th, they appealed to the Ninth Circuit. The defendants did, so Mr. Trump. And then February 12th, defendants made an emergency motion to stay the district court's injunction. That was on the 12th. So that was yesterday. And I'm not sure what the status is. So just a sec. Let me go ahead and put this in. I want to see if there was a court order that came out today on this, everyone. I'm just plugging in the case number real quick since, we have that technology to look this stuff up these days. Man, I tell you, in the old days, it was oh my gosh, it took so much time. Time and energy, my friends, too much time and energy. Oh, looks like it's over on Pacer. And it looks like, no, I don't thank you, but no. Thanks, but no. It looks like we do have a reply that was in. So, emergency motion. I don't see any movement on it. So this did happen, but again, I don't have any order that's come out yet. So again, just double checking, which is easy to do real quick, even though we're all here together. So litigation, oh yeah, at least the next 4 years. You know, civil lawsuits take easily 5 years, but when we're talking about piece of law like this, it can go quicker, but you know, nothing's really quick in the legal system ever. So this will be case number 5 for those of you keeping track at home. Again, this is from justsecurity.org, and these are the lawsuits regarding the birthright citizenship executive order. So next one up, we have, Marco Rubio. Boy, I tell you, that Marco, I'm not a big fan at this point. OCA, so Asian Pacific American Advocates versus Rubio here. There's our case number. If you're interested, and executive order seeking to revoke that birthright citizenship again with that jurisdiction question. They're suing Rubio and the heads of other departments and agencies on behalf of at least 2 pregnant women expected to give birth to children denied citizenship by the orders. We have 2 more. I think that comes to a total of 5 pregnant women at this point. That does kind of add to the exigency of the situation that, you know, if you did any research on the Road case, you will know that pushed her case quicker than it probably would have been otherwise, but still, she had already given birth, of course, by the time that case was decided. And let me just make sure I don't forget which number we're on. We've got another one, County of Santa Clara versus Trump here. Again, we're in birthright citizenship. We've got sued to protect residents who will lose their citizenship or whose US-born children will not receive citizenship. So this is just kind of like a blank piece over there. Oh, the law firm. It's so funny. I tell you, when it gets colder, my cats are either on a vent or on each other. They're just like, it's too cold. So here's another one again. And our last birthright citizenship case as of, this time today. I have no doubt there will be many more cases. And it's Lee v. Trump, or if it's French, Le. I don't know. Oh my gosh. We've got a joint agreement by the parties briefing about a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction here. This is regarding the Washington case. So just another piece. This one's under seal because of the Privacy Act. So that's interesting. And makes sense. Married with Children. Oh my gosh. Classic. We love that. All right, so those were the birthright citizenship cases. We've got 7 of them pending, everyone. Next up, executive action on immigration policy, punishment of sanctuary cities. And this has to do with Executive Order 14159. And we've been talking about that as well. Here's our first one. We're going to kind of keep track of how many of each category we've got. Organized Communities Against Deportations versus Benjamin Huffman, Acting Secretary of Homeland Security. So we have the Attorney General, Benjamin Huffman, issued a policy guidance, among other immigration-related policies, instructing the Civil Division of the Department of Justice to identify state and local laws, policies, and activities that are inconsistent with the executive branch immigration initiatives, and where appropriate to take legal action to challenge the laws. So our plaintiffs here are Chicago-based, and going forward on that, we're going to see that too. I tell you, we have. I truly believe that Mr. Trump is going to be able to, and his thugs. I think is that what we're calling them? Thugs, minions. I think I use minions more frequently than thugs. But his, I think it's goons, I was thinking, because if we're like in the mafia world, I think they're called goons. Anyway, they're going to find all of these places that are weak and in our law. And it's just weak because we got a lot of laws, we got a lot of stuff to do. And I have no doubt that they will be looking for them all. So this will be an opportunity for us to strengthen those laws up. And so that's really good. That's how I'm going to look at it right now. And I'm going to drink my Tang on that. Yikes. Yeah, I think so. They are goons. That's kind of how, that's kind of how I see them. So, all right, number 2, City and County of San Francisco. Again, so that's 2 now for San Francisco. And again, we've got a memorandum that was sent out. So we've got a city saying, I'm not sure that that's all right. So they're going to go ahead and sue on that. We'll see how that goes. That's the second case. And it looks like this is the third and final case. I wasn't highlighting the case numbers. I was like, what? This doesn't look right. Here we go. Case numbers here, case number here, case number 3 over here. And this last one, Make the Road New York versus Benjamin Huffman again. So that's regarding that memo in there. And this one's out of New York. So that's our third one regarding the sanctuary cities here. The Border Czars, a scary guy. There's a lot of scary guys. I tell you, I don't even know what I was watching. I saw a clip of Stephen Miller, and I swear I jumped for a second. I was seriously afraid for just that moment, just the picture of his face. And I was like, who summoned him is kind of what I thought. Like, he's been summoned. Like, put the demon back. Tag night. Yes, it is. I had to have a little bit. Yeah, he's a scary guy. He's scary. I mean, not just, his appearance, although yes, but also, what he says is, in the way that he presents it, every time he speaks, it's like he's giving this big speech, like, Eva Perón in Argentina. I'm like, dude, you're not out on a, solarium talking to a big crowd. What's going on? Scary. Yeah, Slenderman. Oh, I think that's pretty, that's pretty accurate. All right, so this is our last case then regarding that issue on sanctuary cities. So here's our next category, immigration again, and this is the discontinuation of CBP One app, and this is the executive order number. So we're gonna keep seeing these cases because anytime he has added multiple pieces to these executive orders, like some of his executive orders are just useless. Like there's an executive order that just came out, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, how is that an executive order? I don't, well, let me see here. I'll find it later, but there was one that just said, the executive order just said, like, don't do that, we don't like this, but it wasn't an order, it was just like an acknowledgement. So I feel like he's campaigning through his executive orders, campaigning for people to like him. So we'll get to that next. My story would be better if I could have pulled that executive order number out, but we'll have to wait for it. Wait for it for a second. Here we go, CBP One app. And here, One app which was created by the Biden administration to enable asylum seekers to schedule appointments to request asylum. Here, so that has been canceled under this executive order. There is a motion for a restraining order on the table. So they will be, all of these, everyone, every single one of these will need briefing and will need hearings because they're all different issues. Oh, thanks, John. Yes, thumbs up, everybody. Thumbs up. Yay. We just do that as we figure things out over here. So again, this is a piece of his executive order. We've already got another lawsuit, so we'll continue to see this pattern. Next, access of lawyers to immigrants in detention. Oh my gosh, this is, it's just hard to watch how this is coming together here, but well, there we go. So Amicus Center for Immigrant Rights versus U.S. Department of Justice. So the DOJ, we have 2024 Congress appropriated funds for 2 immigration programs, Legal Orientation Program, LOP, and Immigration Court Help Desk. January 22nd, the Department of Justice Executive Office for Immigration issued a stop work order that halted funding for 4 programs providing legal resources to unrepresented people facing deportation. That action was taken purportedly to audit the programs pursuant to the Trump administration's executive order 9 advocacy and immigrating and I'm sorry 9 advocacy and immigrant legal services. I was blending several words together. Organizations sued, arguing that terminating the funding for the programs is arbitrary and capricious, an abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with the law under the Administrative Procedure Act, which is the APA. This APA is really going to be his Achilles heel. See what I did there? Because this is an administrative process. It's not criminal, it's not civil, it's administrative. And so you have to follow the protocols and the rules, or you're gonna be in some trouble. So there we go. We've got this one going as well. So I will keep an eye on this to see where we're at as well. Now, again, because there's so many, it's been hard staying on top of it. So I think it's important to just kind of go through case by case by case here and see what's been going on. So this one is a proclamation. And that's one thing that anytime people are saying, well, it's an executive order, some of these are executive actions, some of these are proclamations, and some of these are executive orders. Now, the reason I draw your attention to this is probably the most famous proclamation, right, was the Emancipation Proclamation, right, or the Proclamation of Emancipation, whichever, you know what I'm saying. And it's through a proclamation that we would keep our eyes on the martial law situation. So if there was to be some kind of walk towards martial law, which of course, who knows what's going to go on, we're going to be looking for the suspension of habeas corpus, and that will have to go through this proclamation situation. So keep your eye on that, just in case you're wondering what that would even look like. That would be under this category of a proclamation, in my opinion, based off of what I have read so far. Only a matter of time. We just don't know, do we? I mean, we just don't know at this point. So, here we go. Prohibiting non-citizens from invoking asylum provisions. So again, we've got more immigration questions going on and being able to, ask for asylum. We have, it looks like 7 different pieces here. We've got barring immigrants who arrive after the date of the proclamation from invoking provisions of the Immigration and Nationality Act that would permit them to remain in the United States while pursuing asylum claims. And again, it's one of these weird situations where, of course, Trump doesn't really know how the government works or the law really. He knows how to cheat, he knows how to bully, and, that'll get you a ways, but the rest of the ways, you got to actually have something in place. And here, we just have laws already here in place. And if you're trying to pull asylum out of the mix, we're going to have not only trouble here, but we're going to start seeing some international trouble too. So this one, again, this would be case number 1. Hopefully that's the only one. Yep, that's the only one. Right. So somebody was asking, what would martial law look like? So that means the military's taken over, law enforcement's taken over our court system. So we wouldn't any further have a court to ask a question to. So if habeas corpus gets suspended, habeas corpus means you have a right to ask a judge to be heard if you think you've been illegally taken into custody. If the military goes around rounding people up and putting them in jail and there's no habeas corpus, I mean, how do you get out, right? So those basic fundamental civil rights could be very easily suspended through that route. If the military takes over the courts, if we no longer have civilian courts, then we've got some pretty big trouble. That would be beyond bunker time. I think if that were to happen, if the military were to take over all of the courts, we'd be in a full-on situation, everybody. All right. So that's just how that would go. I don't know that the military again would go down that road. We have had some situations before where people have had groups of military people who are willing to go forward, but we haven't had, I mean, of course, the Civil War, right? There was the suspension of habeas corpus, and Lincoln suspended it. That did not go over well at all. But, I guess to give you an example of what that looked like for Lincoln, just to help give you some idea, we've got the Merryman case, right? So in that particular case, Merryman had been involved with a group of like 500 Confederate soldiers and various Southern people, and they went and raided an area that had been taken over by the Union soldiers. And they went in, they caused some ruckus, some damage, but the biggest thing was they knocked a bridge down. All right, so it caused a lot of damage in the area. And so this Merryman guy like ran for it, as I suppose everyone probably should do, I guess, not legal advice, ran for it. And they found out like, oh, okay, Merryman's in charge of it. So they found him, and then they took him to the fort. I can't remember which fort it was. I always want to say Fort Lost in the Woods, but that's incorrect. So they took him to a fort, all right, and he was locked up. And so this story got all the way up to the Supreme Court Chief Justice, right? So they're like, I think his name was Tandy, I think Tanny or Tandy, and he said, well, he was pro Confederacy, he was pro slavery, he was the one that wrote the Dred Scott decision, basically, and was like, hey, let's go ahead and let me see this guy. Let me talk to him because he's a hero for the Confederacy people, and I don't think he should be in jail. So he sent a U.S. Marshal to the fort and said, dude, we need Merryman. And the fort was like, we've got orders from Lincoln that we're not allowed to bring him to you. And so the U.S. Marshal went back to the U.S. Supreme Court and was like, they won't let me have him. And so the Supreme Court Chief Justice was so mad. He was so mad. He's like, I said, bring him. Hold on a minute, everybody. I need to look up and see what his name was. Chief Justice in the Merryman case. Taney. Okay, Taney. All right, so he was so upset. He's like, I'm the Chief Justice, even though, whatever. You need to bring me this dude. I want to talk to him. And Lincoln's like, I've suspended habeas corpus, so he doesn't have a right to be heard by a court. And Taney was like, you can't do that because Congress isn't in session, and you can only, suspend habeas corpus through Congress. And it was this big question. And Lincoln was like, screw you, you're not getting him. And so Marshall went back to the fort. And the people at the fort were like, dude, we're military. We're listening to the commander-in-chief here. We're not going to give him up. And so then became this really angry fight between Lincoln and the Chief Justice. Ultimately, Congress did come back and passed a law that made it so the president could suspend habeas corpus without congressional authority, which is like, it's kind of questionable, and cleared it up. But there was, this time period, this fight, that's what it looked like. That's exactly what it looked like. We had a martial law kind of situation where Lincoln said, no, you're not allowed to be seen in court. You're in jail, and we're not going to give you to the court. And it's literally the U.S. Supreme Court, right? So that's kind of an idea of what that tug of war looked like at that time. So to give you some idea. We also had some issues, of course, with, the Korematsu case, right? When Japanese Americans were being put into camps, and they were like, dude, we want to be heard. Well, Mr. Korematsu was heard. And then after that, they're like, nope, too bad. You don't have any. You've got, you got to go into tents because your civil rights of this particular group of people were paused because we were at war. Now, the being at war situation with a country really plays a high important pivotal role when it comes to a lot of the things that they're talking about. So like the Alien and Insurgent Act and all of those things that he keeps babbling on about really has to be through, a country that we're at war with in order for those things to be triggered. Congress realizes the executive branch decides to ignore them, and the judicial branch, they would no longer need them, as will be in a dictatorship. They need to act. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, they need to, do something. Yes, this is just security. Yeah, they need to do something. And, and I've said this before, that Jeffrey says, like, you can't swing at every pitch. And I get it. But, some of the pitches you need to at least stand up and look at. You know what I'm saying? All right. So there you go. There's my story, everybody. There's my story on what would happen if habeas corpus was suspended. It's not great. All right. It's not great. Next up, we have migrant transfers to Guantanamo, which we've been talking about. This was a presidential memorandum. So this is an executive order. Again, it's important, everyone, to make that distinction between what kind of an order is it? Is it an executive order? Is it a memo, a proclamation, just kind of an executive action? I think that's important to note the differences there. And we have Perez Para versus Castro. Shocker. And here's our case number. Keeping our eye on this particular one, he's ordering the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Homeland Security to prepare Migrant Operations Center at the Naval Station in Guantanamo Bay to function at full capacity as a detention center for undocumented migrants. 3 Venezuelan men already part of an existing habeas lawsuit from September of 2024. So there's your habeas corpus right here. In the District Court of New Mexico, sought to block the administration from transferring them to Guantanamo facility based on their similarities to those previously relocated. The men anticipated being moved as well. The challenge is specific to 3 specific individuals under All Writs Act to preserve the ongoing jurisdiction of the court and does not seek to block other transfers. So 3 people have brought grounds in front of the court regarding Guantanamo. There are more than 3 people involved with the Guantanamo situation, but we do have 3 here, and they have been granted that temporary restraining order. Yeah. Yep. The only ones, yeah, I agree. I agree. AOC, Crockett, and Presley. Yeah. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Some people need to maybe walk around and get out of DC, get out of the walls of Congress, come back down to where us plebes work to understand that, if you want us to go forward and you want us to support what's going on, you need to do something. And I think they're losing sight of it, especially the leadership. They're losing touch with the people here. So yeah, there's a lot of that. All right, my chair is squeaking around, everybody, just in case you were wondering. Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. Oh, I know. Accomplish whatever you set out to make us overwhelmed. Yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot all at once, but if you break it down, it's toothless, I guess is how I would say it. Really, yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Like ivory towers are great, but they're not going to help the country. So why don't you go ahead and roll up your sleeves there, Juan. I'm saying Juan Perón, all right? Because that's what he did when he supported the unions in Argentina, all right? So let's just be clear about that. Here we go. Next one. Oh my gosh, the Advocacy Center here, presidential memorandum. Again, this is the same situation where we're ordering people to Guantanamo Bay. They're suing on behalf of the families of 4 Venezuelan nationals, or Venezuelan, I don't know why I'm saying Leon, but whatever, nationals who are believed to have been transferred to Guantanamo. They're alleging the government actions violates habeas corpus rights. Again, this is one of those fundamental rights, saying that you have the right to be seen by a judge. Habeas corpus literally means bring forth the body. So you have to you're saying, look, they have me in jurisdiction. I want to be heard. I'm not here legally. Fifth Amendment due process rights and the Immigration and Naturalizations Act guarantee of the right to counsel, which is kind of important. Further alleging the government's alleged restriction of information in and out of Guantanamo violates both the plaintiffs' and detainees' First Amendment rights. That's a great argument because, of course, that information is going to be extremely limited. That's a really good point. This is reminding me of North Korea, is this situation. They seek court orders declaring that the government's actions violate those rights, permitting access to lawyers, requiring the government to identify the location of detainees held at Guantanamo, requiring the government to provide 72 hours notice prior to any transfer to a foreign jurisdiction. That's really what the huge issue is they're getting transferred outside of the United States. Right? So, I mean, that's a problem. Yeah, that's definitely a problem. And so there's our next one. So we've got two cases here on the Guantanamo situation. Then we bump down here, U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. Again, another, oh my gosh, refugees are immigrants. Pacito versus Trump out of Washington here. This executive order that's suspending the refugee admissions and processing are suing here. We've got 10 plaintiffs, individual refugees, U.S. citizens, and resettlement organizations have filed a proposed class action seeking injunctions to block implementation of the orders. So we've got a big group of people here. So number one lawsuit in that situation. Looks like we only have one. We don't have two in that, so that's all right. Well, I think rather than them turning into cowards, I think it's just shining a light so that we can see that they have always been the cowards. It's just they hid it better, in my humble opinion. They were able to hide it. Mr. Logical Explanation. Well, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. It's all right. It's been, this is my first time back since Sunday. I've been not well, so I pray these people get to the U.S. citizens for the way they're being treated. And that's a great point. I mean, our citizenship in the U.S. is kind of jacked up, and the path to citizenship is really jacked up. It doesn't need to be that way, but things really got out of control there. And especially after 9/11, of course, everything shifted. And it wasn't just for one group of people. Everything shifted when it came to immigration. So, it's been a fight to get everything sorted out. We're still recovering, quite frankly, from 9/11 and the laws that were put into place at that time to deal with such a tragedy and organize in that situation. They've not been cleaned up. It was pretty quick and dirty, and now we're having to deal with it. Oh, no, my duck just lost its head. Who really wants to be a U.S. citizen right now? Well, I do. I mean, there's a lot of problems, but, there's a lot of problems in the whole world, too. Yeah. I mean, again, it's not great. It's not great, but I'm not sure where's better. And I've done some research. It was broken well before 9/11. I agree, but 9/11 I think exacerbated it. So we had this, I'm trying to think of when it really took a turn, when our immigration laws, I'm not sure, it seems like, I want to say it might have been Reagan even, but when our immigration laws started turning into ways to discriminate, then that's when things turned the corner, and then it just got exacerbated over time. Right now, yeah. I mean, yeah. All right, here we go. Moving forward. Digging for, I know. Oh my gosh. Oversight to discrimination. Exactly right. All right, structure of government and personnel. So we're in the next category for our lawsuits here. We have an executive action, again, just to remind everybody to kind of look and see what they're exactly putting through. We have National Treasury Employees Union versus Trump. I'm loving this one. There are a couple of these cases that I'm like, that's a great case. And I feel like calling up and being like, y'all need help because that's a great case. We've got executive order authorizing the director of the Office of Personnel Management to reclassify thousands of members of the civil service and strip them of their civil service protections, enabling the president or heads of agencies to fire them at will. Can you even imagine, everyone? I mean, the protections for our civil service people are put in place for a reason, right? So that they're not used as political pawns, and so that they're not, having to relearn a fresh batch of new people relearning the basics when it comes to foundations. It would absolutely screw up our entire process of having to go through and rehire people or fire and hire again. If you made our civil servants an at-will workers, that would be a nightmare. Yeah, it would be absolutely a nightmare. Uh, yeah. So I'm trying not to think of that uh, road, but hopefully, they'll catch it soon enough. Sorry, everybody. I'm checking something real quick here. All right. Next up, that'd be very bad. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. The at-will piece, when we're talking about civil servants, again, I think would be very detrimental to the country. Here, lawfare is strong. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, what, Jeremy? I mean, I'm an attorney, right? So that's kind of what we're talking about. I'm talking about law stuff. Yeah, it would be. I don't think Jeremy wants to be here. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jeremy, look what you stumbled into. Oh, dear. Oh, my goodness gracious. Doesn't like kids or pets. That shows what kind of, that's a really good point. Now, I would say not necessarily the kids part, because I know a lot of good people that just can't stand children. And I think that's because of trauma. But any kind of an animal, if you can't find one fluffy animal that you enjoy, I worry. All right, off he goes. Thanks, Tay. He's left the room, everyone. All right, next up, here we go. Government Accountability Project versus the Office of Personnel Management. So this Office of Personnel Management, oh my gosh, we're going to be seeing cases after case after case here. He just took a trip. Oh my gosh, it's cracking me up here. We've got another one, the personnel management, so OPM, a guidance implementing the president's executive order, aiming to reclassify thousands of members of civil service, stripping them of their civil service protection. So again, this would be a huge issue. Like, who would want to do that job then? If you've got no protection, you go through all of this training and all of this rigid stuff that you have to go through in order to even get the job, and then you're not guaranteed it for a period of time. Yikes. I mean, there's a reason why it's not an at-will position. So, and this looks like number 3. So this is case number 3 here. And then we have number 3 and we have number 4. So we have 4 lawsuits involving that reclassification of civil servants here. Public employees for environmental responsibility here is this one. And here's our case number. American Federation of Government Employees. So this is AFL-CIO and the American Federation of State and County. So this is AFSCME. Like, come on, use the acronym. I don't want to say all those words. Versus Trump here. So the AFL-CIO and AFSCME are also getting involved. And again, rightfully so, those are our unions here when it comes to our workers. We'll see about these as well. What's going to be going forward on that? This really drives me bonkers when they're trying to pull lifetime workers or people who've been there 10 or 15 years with no political bit one way or the other, just trying to do their job, just to pull them out so they can be at will, because the United States is not a company. And, we're going to learn that the hard way, I think, in some areas. So there you go. Oh, goodness. Next up, we have establishment of the Department of Government Efficiency. So this is the DOGE establishment here, which is a really big problem. Too many acronyms. Oh, I know. I know. Public Citizens versus Trump and the Office of Business or Office of Management and Budget. So just think to yourself, anytime you see Office of Management and Budget, this is Project 25. This is, you can call it what you want, but this is P25 right here. So this Office of Management and Budget. So if you're thinking, oh my gosh, are we going to do 2025? Yes, we are. And it's going to come from this office right here. So just so that you know, keep your eyes on it as we go through and try to put the pieces back together later. Executive order here renames the U.S. Digital Service as the U.S. DOGE Service, Department of Government Efficiency, and reestablishes the office under the Executive Office of the President. Two advocacy organizations, American Federation of Government Employees, sued, right, arguing that the order violates the Federal Advisory Committee Act, which bars the delegation of decision-making authority to private citizens without public access. That's kind of important. That's kind of a big deal here, too. When you're pulling government decisions from a private citizen without oversight, like, we don't do that. We're not supposed to be doing that. And I say that a lot, like, we're not supposed to be doing that. And then people are saying, well, he is doing that. And then my response is, and then we have a lawsuit, right? So at the end of every single one of those, and now we have a lawsuit. And now we're back in court because you're not supposed to do that. Oh my gosh. All right. Next up, we have Gerald Lentini, Joshua, and the National Security Counselors versus Department of Government Efficiency, Office Management. So here's the executive order here. And the organization is suing, arguing that the order violates the Federal Advisory Committee Act, which again bars that delegation of decision-making authority to private citizens. So again, we've got one suit here, two suits. Let's see if we've got, this is still two, and we've got 3 and 4. So next up, we have American Public Health Association et al. Versus Office of Management and Budget, Acting Director of the Office of Management and Budget, and Department of Government Efficiency. Again, so we've got another one here. They're saying that renaming and that this process is in violation. Nothing's stopping them in the meantime, right? Well, yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute, everybody. I've been getting a lot of questions about that, and of course, it's a question. You think, well, if someone's committing a crime, you go out and you get them, you arrest them, and right, and then you bring them in and you take care of business. Unfortunately, one of the problems that we have with a lot of criminal cases is someone will go in and say, I think this person's going to harm me, and I think they're going to hurt me really bad, and I need help. So they might put a restraining order out, and then those people could violate it, but there's really nothing they can do. So the law enforcement comes and says to you, come back when that person's harmed you, right? So, there you go. You're out in the world. You have no protection. You have no ability. This person's going to hurt you, and you have to wait until they cause you harm until you're able to get help from law enforcement. And that's kind of how this system works. You've got to show that they've screwed something up and caused some harm, unfortunately, in order to go forward. And that could be future harm, but not only do we have to wait, but the system is extremely slow. It's very slow in moving forward on anything. And it's slow because we have all of these rules and steps and procedures that we have to go through to make sure everybody's rights are being held properly. So it's slow, and you got to wait for harm. It's a twofer, and unfortunately that can lead to a lot of damage being done before it's actually stopped. All right, next we've got Center for Biological Diversity versus Office of Management and Budget here, and then there's our case number. And then again, it's more of the same here. The Center for Biological Diversity sued the Office of Management and Budget under the Freedom of Information Act. So this is a FOIA case here. Now, As a quick side note, the damage will be done. Yeah, it's a cleanup rather than prevention. We'll have to catch it on the back end rather than the front end, which is just, it's torturous to watch, right? Because there's so much damage that can be done on the front end, unfortunately. Can't we get protection orders from the guy and his? Well, wouldn't that be nice if we could? But unfortunately, no. We've got to have more of a narrowed realm of people or zone that we're looking at. One of the things I was reading, a lot of people that are doing phone calls, writing letters, sending postcards, that's so fantastic. I'm so excited that people are doing that. I think that's great. But I was reading an article where someone, it was another attorney, and he's like, this is how to annoy people as an attorney. This is how you can, if you're not going to be able to go forward, the least you can do is bug some people. And so he was saying, oh my gosh, he was saying as attorneys, we should just file FOIAs like all the time in all departments everywhere and get everything completely backed up, which, honestly is kind of what's been going on in the Georgia RICO case. There have been a lot of FOIAs that have been filed, and it just pauses everything. You can't move forward until the FOIAs are taken care of. So I was reading through that and thinking, like, how lawyers can be annoying. And I'm like, well, there you go. There you go, right here. File some FOIAs, everybody. All right, that's it. We've got 4 sets on that one. Next, we have solicitation of information from career employees. Now, this is going to include the FBI situation as well. Right. So here we go. Jane Doe 1 through 2 versus the Office of Personnel Management. So again, this personnel management and budget are the P25s. Over here we have, all right, so they announced it was testing a new system to email all civilian federal employees from a single email address. Okay, individuals claiming to be Office of Personnel Management employees subsequently posted online that the emails were being stored on an unsecure server at OMP. Plaintiffs' employees of executive branch agencies who received the test emails requesting information sued. Now, it seems like, Miss Clinton had some problems with this idea of an unsecured server. So I don't have too much sympathy here when people are coming in and saying, I got trouble here. We're feeling like our privacy is out of there. I'm boycotting TikTok. The Supreme Court upheld the ban. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things going on at play there, but it's getting suspicious, everybody. I know we're not supposed to be suspicious. Don't be suspicious, but TikTok's suspicious at the moment. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think Trump really thought he could come in and make some deals with ByteDance. And, those of us that know how this whole thing has been working are like, why would they do that? So why would they make a deal with that? So I have no idea if that's ever going to work. No. I think it's a good question, though. I think it's a good question. I think it's always good to get updates on what's going on with TikTok because that's an incredibly powerful situation. It's very suspicious over there. I agree. Next up, disclosure of personal and financial records. So this is the big one here where we all were like, I'm not sure you should be looking at that stuff. And it was like eyes only was the agreement. And then the courts were like, that's not okay. And the complaint alleges the Treasury Department granted Doge affiliated individuals access to sensitive personal and financial information maintained by the Treasury Department. The plaintiff sued on behalf of members whose records may have been transmitted from the Treasury Department to the Doge employees, thus allegedly depriving the members of privacy. And this again is the Privacy Act. There's a whole law in here that says you shouldn't be doing that. February 6th, parties in the suit mutually proposed an order, which was agreed upon, but then later, the court said, no, that order's not good enough. Next up, New York versus Trump. Oh my gosh, everyone. Have you seen the craziness going on in New York right now with the attorneys who are resigning? They're being told that they need to dismiss the lawsuit against the mayor dude, Adams, I think his name is. And they're like, that's completely wrong and unethical. Oh my God. My heart breaks for them because that's one of the worst positions to be in as a prosecutor. Like, you have got to have the highest level of ethics in order to do your job so that you're not just trouncing everybody all the time. But then somebody asks you to violate your own ethics. Yeah, that's it's heartbreaking. And those are the moments where your career changes. And it was for me. I had multiple jurisdictions I had worked in, and I would not have left my jurisdiction had I not been asked to do something unethical by a superior person, a superior officer, by my boss. If they had not asked me that, I would have stayed. And so that really, it hits home. And I feel so bad for these attorneys where you have to weigh out, this is a job I've worked my entire life to get to, and you're asking me to violate my own ethics. And so you have to choose. You have to choose your ethics or the job. And they're choosing the ethics. So my heart just goes out to them. I feel bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Eric Adams. Yep. Oh, so sad. All right, here we go. We've got the Treasury Department here. 19 states sued on the grounds, political appointees, special government employees, and so on. So we've got another. They requested emergency temporary restraining order as well as a preliminary and permanent injunction barring access. So here's our first suit. Here's our second suit that's been going on there. And these are really big ones here. Hello, VC. Welcome. I applaud them. I do too, Kaya. I do too. And what can happen depending on how things go as a prosecutor, what can happen is you can get a reputation for being hard to work with. And if you try to go and get a job as a prosecutor somewhere else and they call back to your prior boss, and your prior boss says, well, like, they wouldn't follow orders, and that's a problem. And you can have a really difficult time going back into another environment like that. So eventually, you just have to kind of move on. You got to go to another place where you're not going to be asked to violate your ethics. And many times that's not going to be in a prosecutorial capacity, in my opinion, based off of my experience. So there you go. There's my disclaimer. AFL-CIO, here, Department of Labor. This is a very similar situation. They sought access to internal information systems at the Department of Labor. So not only the Treasury, but also in the Department of Labor. So we have that same issue. February 7th, let's see, Judge Bates denied the petition for a temporary restraining order on the ground that the plaintiffs lacked standing. So this is kind of a big deal too. The plaintiffs, if they hadn't gone forward and shown enough information to show how they personally were harmed, then the court's going to say you don't have standing for it. So let's back up and take a look and see if we can find some more of that rationale on how they went through this. So plaintiffs sued, arguing that DOJ's attempt to direct the agency and access internal information systems are an unlawful exercise of power beyond its authority and unlawful under the Administrative Procedure Act as a prohibited personnel practice, violation of the Confidential Information Protection and Statistical Efficiency Act. Dang, everybody, put your acronyms in there. Violation of the Privacy Act, rulemaking without proper procedure. That's a big one. And arbitrary and capricious abuse of discretion. Yeah, again, the legislature is the one that makes the law, right? The executive branch doesn't make laws. And I feel like they really need to get some signage that says that. Like, put that in everybody's office. You're not here to make law. They seek temporary, preliminary, and permanent injunctive relief to prevent the Department of Labor from granting access to Doge, from taking adverse action against employees who refuse to cooperate with Doge, and from providing any person with non-public Department of Labor information regarding the person's business interests or direct competitors. On that same day as the complaint was filed, the judge, John Bates, issued an order which stated, quote, defendants represented to the court that the Department of Labor will not allow Doge access to any Department of Labor data until after this court rules on the restraining order motion on Friday. And then they did, and he ruled it was denied. So this one's going to be a huge question. Let's get our red pen. Or how about pink? We'll do a big pink one here so I can go back through, because this would be a good one, I think, to use on another live to just go through this case and explain what's happening here. Anytime we have any standing questions, I think it's good to kind of peel apart what's actually going on in a situation. So we can take a look at that. Oh, Schoolhouse Rock. Oh my gosh, I know, right? Right? I mean, oh my goodness, yeah, it's a lot. That's a lot. I get up in the morning and I think, all right, who has forgotten how the government works? I think everyone working there does. It's really something. Next up, University of California Students Association versus Carter. Here, so 20 people affiliated with the Doge were working with the Department of Education, some of whom obtained access to sensitive internal information systems, including systems related to federal student aid. So here we have the Labor Department. Here we have the Education Department, all right, when it comes to this kind of private information being made available here. And I don't think we don't have an order yet out on this one. So February 3rd is when they filed the complaint, it looks like. And we'll have to take a look and see. I'm wondering if they had a restraining order put in here on this case. I'm not sure. I'll have to take a peek at it. 75-day deadline is up in April for, oh, yeah. The TikTok, yep, yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you though, everybody, boy, it's hinky business going on, the talk, hinky. There's some hinkiness going on. All right, next up, everyone, we have the National Treasury Employees Union. So we love that. We love when a union gets involved because, again, there is some financial support to the person bringing the lawsuit. So one of Mr. Trump's big things that he likes to do is run people out of money and litigate them until they're at a point where they can no longer afford the litigation. And so if you've got a union or the AGs coming in here with you, then you're going to have enough, usually financial backing to take the case all the way. So we love to see that. Whether you are pro or anti-union, it's about money, right? So who's got enough money to go the distance? And unions typically will be able to do that because they set aside a budget for it. Special government employee here, February 7th, these 3 people, none of whom is or has been an employee, were added to the staff and email directories as senior advisors. Ooh, look at that. They're probably pretty mad about that. Russell Vaught, as acting director, instructed staffers to grant the Doge team access to all non-classified systems. Plaintiffs maintain that there's a statutory obligation to protect this employee information under both the Privacy Act and CFPB regulations. So plaintiffs claim that CFPB violated that obligation by granting access to employee information without satisfying an exception in the Privacy Act. That's a really good point. I mean, this Privacy Act, man, they should have been reading this. That should have been something that they took into consideration before is drafting for the Mars. Oh, wouldn't that be great? I mean, for himself, is he going to go to Mars? I mean, wait, maybe not. Maybe he's thinking like that's where, I mean, are they sending undocumented immigrants to Mars? Because at this point, I just don't even know what's happening anymore. I just don't even know. Because that's not right. That's just not right. It's so hard to watch. All right, here we go. Moving forward, moving forward. We have American Federation of Teachers here. And here's our case number. That's what his uniform. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. We can only hope he goes and that he mistakes a big yellow bell. Oh my goodness. Well, you never know. You just, you never know. All bets are off, everybody. I mean, I can tell you what's supposed to happen, but what really happens, it's anybody's guess at this point. Oh, all right, all right. So again, we've got Doge coming in here as special employees and getting to private citizens' personal information. All right, so let's see. We've got one. Oh, that's three. So this is four. This is five. This is six. This is seven. Wow, this is looking like 7 lawsuits filed just on Doge getting into the records. That's a pretty big deal. That's actually huge. 7 lawsuits in federal courts. Electronic Privacy Information Center is also suing. Here's their case number. And they're saying the plaintiffs here in Doe 1, a federal employee, sued claiming the transmission of those records violated their right to privacy. There you go, and puts them at risk for identity theft. So that's case number 7. Whoa, and we even have one more. That's 8 cases, everybody. So this information that they were hunting around for now has 8 federal lawsuits in place. And these are saying that they did actually violate. They're not just saying we want only a temporary restraining order. Yeah, oh yeah, the lawsuits, they're a-coming, everybody. They're a-coming. Here we are, American Federation of Government Employees versus the Personnel Management. So here, let's kind of skip here. Plaintiffs, current and former federal employees and unions representing them sued, arguing that the OPM's disclosure of this information to Doge violates the Privacy Act and the Administrative Procedure Act, and that Doge actions are ultra V. They seek a declaratory judgment that the government's actions are unlawful, temporary, preliminary, and permanent injunctive relief. So yeah, I mean, 4 federal lawsuits, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a pretty big moment in time. Oh my gosh, the ACLU, definitely. If we were to have some Avengers, like that's the ACLU right now. They are working hard, and they're there to work hard. That's the other thing. You may have all kinds of patchwork attorneys here coming in and filing here, there, and everywhere. Although union attorneys, labor law attorneys tend to be part of the same group. But when you pull an ACLU attorney in, like they're there to fight. They're the ones that take the gloves off and are like, let's do this. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, they're amazing. Can a state stop sending tax money to Washington if they're not receiving grants and funding due to political war? Great question. And I would say that, honestly, I don't know. I would look to see what the rules and regulations are regarding the money, the state money. And I say that because I don't want to say that they can't, because there might be a possibility where if the federal government, right, because if you've got an agreement and the federal government does A, the state does B, but if the federal government's not doing their part, then it could be argued that the state doesn't have to send taxes in. But you'd have to look at the language very carefully and see exactly what is the rule, who gives what, when, and whether or not that's been compromised. But it could happen. It could happen. Keep the taxes to fund the projects. Well, right, exactly. Like I feel right now myself, I'm like, I don't want to give the federal government any money. I really don't. Like I will because, hashtag Al Capone. But yeah, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating at the moment. What will our federal tax dollars go towards? That's a great question. And I think too, a lot of people are asking, I don't want my tax dollars spent on this. And what's a little bit weird, in my opinion, is that we had a case a few decades ago. So, like last week, where there was a woman, I think she's in Massachusetts. She didn't want her money going to essentially WIC. So the WIC program, which is to help new mothers and infants, and she didn't like it, so she sued and she said my money should not be going to this program, I don't like it. And the court said, well, it all goes into a pot and then they dole it out in the way that it needs to be doled out, so you don't get to choose that. But then came another case, and I can't remember the name of the case, but once this case hit, it was like, you can't do that now. I mean, there's these other kinds of issues at play. Uh, checking comments, everybody here. 1 minute. Sorry. Yeah, like you do a better job. Oh, yeah, I know. I agree. I agree. I mean, he just doesn't do very well. Does not fall under the Department of Agriculture. The WIC program, I would say, I think it is. I think it is. I think any kind of food program would be considered part of that because it has to do with discounts and kind of, there's a discount given to, I'm not using the right word, there's a discount given to the farmers. So they're able to, or a subsidy, that's the word I'm looking for. So yeah, it would, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. So our law just kind of got, thank you, yes, Jaja, that's right. Our suing or withholding tax money because we don't like what is being spent on is like round and round and round been an issue where it's going to be very difficult to justify if the tax people come for you. Oh my gosh, Kenny Jr. and our food. I just can't, everybody, I can't. I just can't do it. I'm still like, can I order this from Korea? And then I'm spraying everything down. Like, it's fine. Anything in the US, I'm spraying down. Anything from Korea or, Canada, I'm just like, give it to me. It's worrisome. It's definitely worrisome. All right, here we go. Sorry, everybody. I get easily distracted. There's too many squirrels. Here's our fork directive. We've heard about this a little bit before too. This is that deferred resignation offer that they're putting in. I tell you what, this is a scheme right here. This is a scheme. I'm trying to use some harsh words, so this isn't right. This isn't right at all. They went in and they said, if you basically are willing to resign by a certain date, you'll get a certain amount of compensation for a certain period of time. And then you go on with your life. And I think this is a way, of course, of just turning over the employees, right? More federal employees, get rid of them. They're wanting to start fresh, get rid of everybody, start fresh again with our own people. And so this lawsuit was filed. Now it looks like today's the 13th. So let's go through our updates. The plaintiffs requested a temporary restraining order, and that within 24 hours of the restraining order, government provide written notice, the restraining order to all federal employees. So they're trying to halt this. And on February 6th, the judge issued an order to pause the program, extend the deadlines until Monday when the hearing was scheduled. So this has been going on this week. This particular case in this fight, February 10th, the judge ordered that the stay and the February 6th deadline will remain in effect, pending the completion of briefing and oral arguments on the issue. Defendants notified the court of their compliance. And then yesterday, the judge dissolved the temporary restraining order and denied further preliminary injunctive relief, finding that plaintiffs lacked Article 3 standing and that the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction over the claims asserted. So our restraining order here, temporary restraining order, again, this is another one I should do a full post on here, was Article 3 standing. Article 3 means the federal court doesn't have the jurisdiction to hear the case. And that's a huge issue. If you don't have what you need, and standing, the best way to look at standing is to say, have you been harmed by this, and you've sustained damage that can be cured with the court's action, and you have to be closely connected to the situation, uh, connected enough to the situation that it allows for you to bring it in front of the court. Reposted it early. Yes. Oh, I know. This is a bad one. I mean, I haven't read it, but it's a tough one. If standing is lacking, though, what I'll say here, and I haven't read the order, but if you're lacking in standing, the court will usually tell you why. And then what happens is we take that and we go get it. So if he's saying we don't have standing because you don't have these people specifically here, or there's no harm in place, then you go find the people that he wants. And if the harm hasn't occurred yet, then you just sit on it. And then as soon as the harm occurs, you're like, there we go. We're off and running. So it doesn't mean that it can't go through. It just means at the moment, it's not going to be. Are these judges afraid of being impeached? No, I don't think any of our judges are afraid of impeachment. Well, I mean, yeah, I really don't. That's not something that they really concern themselves with, because it takes a lot of votes. It's just like a presidential impeachment. And with Congress, the way that it is right now, it'd be rough. I don't know how they'd get 2/3 out of the Senate. So it's pretty much an impossibility because of the status of how much our parties hate each other. So I think that would be a really big one. Creator impersonating RFK. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, there's some, I don't know about this RFK fella. I don't know about this guy. I'm not gonna say anything negative, but I just don't know. I'm suspicious. I'm worried. All right, next one up. Here we go. I swear we're gonna make it through this list at least halfway. So we've got Gwen Wilcox here, and this is our complaint. This is a case saying Trump's removal of her from her position on the National Labor Relations Board. The suit alleges the removal is in violation of the National Labor Relations Act, which allows the president to remove board members only in cases of neglect of duty or malfeasance, and only after notice and a hearing. So she's basically saying here that her due process was violated under the law. So, and this is really important to take a note of. The president, that stupid Nixon v. Fitzgerald case, that drives me bonkers, had to do with a dude that Nixon fired. All right. So thanks a lot, Nixon. And the court came in and said Nixon is immune from civil lawsuits regarding anything he did as president within his official capacity. That's what all of this immunity crap's out of. And so anytime I hear, well, you got fired, I'm always like, oh my gosh, okay, the president's immune if you're fired. But she's saying I was deprived of due process. Like in the Fitzgerald case, they went through proper procedures. And that's the thing, again, that I think is truly the weakest link for Mr. Trump, is he's not following procedure. And, procedural law is still a thing. We have substantive law and then we have procedural law. And he's violating both, but still, you're going to have a problem here. If you are denied due process, that's an issue. And, I'm not sure that civilly there is a question here. It's more of a procedural issue, like you violated my correct process here. Updates to yesterday on this. Okay, excellent. Thanks. Hello, Navy Vet. Good to see you. Hello, Boxer Mom. Good to see you too. Yeah, it's a mess. Oh, thanks, Greg. I appreciate that. Okay, so there we go. I feel like we're gonna get there. in unions, there's a procedural policy to follow. Exactly. There's procedure for everything. And, those rules have to be followed, or else it's going to be anarchy. Not only that, but people agreed to those rules. Those rules were created by elected representatives. We elected people, and the people wrote the rules. So those are our rules. You got to follow the rules that we told you about. And you can't forget about that. Just because it's not an act or an intent equaling a crime doesn't mean it's not a law that you still have to follow. Who will enforce the rulings since Trump has demonstrated noncompliance? So I would say, uh, who enforces any legal rulings? Who enforces any of it? Right? So the people that take the oath to the Constitution, who are in law enforcement, those are the people who enforce the court orders. If you have jurisdiction to serve the court order, you have jurisdiction to enforce it. And that's what you do. And a lot of people are saying, well, DOJ. And so, what about the DOJ? It doesn't matter. You have a court order, you serve the court order, and then, you go forward. It's very frustrating right now because it seems like, well, the U.S. Marshals are only going to follow him, or DOJ is only going to listen to him, or whatever. But in reality, somebody is going to put their oath to the Constitution and their requirements to follow the law above an illegal order given to them by Mr. Trump, because they're not immune. They're not immune from prosecution. They can be prosecuted. All of them can, for abiding by an illegal order. And that's something that Roberts actually talked about in the immunity case, where he set out little bits of that as well, saying, illegal orders are illegal orders. And that's not, he was going off on kind of that SEAL Team 6 question that the Court of Appeals was talking about in the DC circuit. But, if it's outside of Trump's official duties, first of all, it's not immune. Second of all, only Trump is immune. Everybody else has no immunity. And just because they say, well, he told me to do it, like, no, that's not going to save you. If that is an illegal order and you took a oath to the Constitution, step up, man, do your job. Right. So many lawsuits. Oh my gosh, it moves too slow for the goods. Exactly, John. Probably just within the time I've been doing this live, there's probably another 5 lawsuits that have been filed. And we're just getting started. These are probably like all of the lawsuits that have already been pre-written, and they just had to fill in what law was being violated. So these are the pre-made ones. So the next ones we start seeing are going to be pretty heavy hitters, I think. Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad to see you too, Boxer Mom. I'm glad to see you too. Absolutely. We are in this together. Won't Trump reward them with a pardon for not enforcing orders? Now, that's a great question too, or a great point. I've been hearing a lot. And you got to look back at how Trump's done his pardons. Now, I've spent some time in Trump pardon land, and that guy, there have been a lot of people asking for pardons. A lot of people asked him. And it depended on his mood, and it depended on what he thought he would benefit from in order to give that pardon. And there were some people too that he said, oh, don't worry about it, I'll pardon you, and then didn't, who were PO'd about it. So he's, Trump's a wild card. I don't know if wild card's the correct word. He's a loose cannon, maybe is better. I don't know the phrase I'm looking for, but there's no guarantee on what's going to happen. They could go in and say, well, I'll do this, but I want a pardon. And he'll say, sure. And then when the time comes, he'll be like, nope, forget about it. So we just don't know. And I think Oliver Stone really demonstrated that and talks about that in one of his creepy documentaries. he's creepy, not the documentary, everybody, where he's talking about that. And he's saying, Trump's not giving pardons out like he should be and isn't guaranteeing them. And he was so disappointed in Trump because he knew certain things weren't going to be, he wasn't going to get another pardon, and he was pissed about it. So I think that that's really important to note, because he's only getting worse. He's not getting better. It's not like he's, well, now I'll make sure to do blah, blah, blah. I mean, did you see him in that Oval Office with Elon Musk? I thought he was going to pop. I really did. If you're looking at his body language and you're looking at Elon Musk and you're like, there is trouble in paradise, he's not going to be there for very much longer. He's not. He cannot have, Elon Musk isn't going to be there. Trump cannot have somebody taking that level of spotlight away from him. And you've got two narcissists fighting. And so you're going to have to figure out what's going to happen. So that's really what the issue. Oliver Stone or Roger Stone. Did I say Oliver? I'm sorry, everybody. It's Roger Stone. Yeah. The Penguin. The Penguin, man. Where's the best place to track the lawsuits? I have to say, where I'm reading them out of today, everyone, is from the justsecurity.org website. And I just printed out the stuff. Most people don't do that. But you can go in and pull whichever case you want. Elon's not going anywhere. Well, I don't know. If you look and you see the behavior of two, and I'm not going to call them alpha males because I don't even think of them as males, so I can't do that. But if you look at two people with enormous egos, with no empathy and an unrealistic view of the world, fighting each other, I mean, only one can come out on top, right? Some of the things, but he has given an unconstitutional order to anyone yet. There's suggestions military can't take issue because it would be enormous. Good. That's a good point too, Navy vet. And I think that some of the executive orders here are unconstitutional. I truly do. And just to use the birthright citizenship situation, but they're paused. The ones that have these huge issues, they're all restrained. And so no one can go forward and really enforce anything at the moment. The harm isn't coming because they're paused. So that's where we're at. But all our females now, I don't know. I can't figure out what they are. I don't know. They don't fit my definition of a man. How's that? But that's just me, okay? Oh my gosh. All right. Let's hit this one here. Next up, we have Harris versus Besant. Again, this is another one going along with the resignation thing. All right. So these three lawsuits are regarding that resignation package he was offering here. And she's saying she was removed from the Merit Systems Protection Board, an independent federal agency, alleging she received a one-sentence email. That sounds about right for a bunch of jerk faces. From this fella here, Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Director of the White House Presidential Personnel Office, stating the plaintiff had been terminated effective immediately. Yep, they just went in and started firing people, and it didn't matter if there were rules or not, which also are... It all started when we had that first batch of inspectors who were fired. So now we've got another batch here. And those inspector generals are suing. Most of them are. But this is a mess, man. This is a mess. And it'll get untangled eventually, but it's going to take some time, for sure. It's going to take some time. Keep forgetting that executive orders in court because I hope court would throw them out. Oh, I know, right? That'd be great. But, again, this is going to be really a defining period of time in our history where we have to figure out how to get through these kinds of questions, these weak spots that are being pointed out. And we have to have our courts explain it, hash it out, and then go forward from there. So I'm trying to look at it like we're doing some spring cleaning, but we're doing spring cleaning not because we want to, because we're interested, but because we have a rat infestation. That's why we're spring cleaning our Constitution. All right. So if you look at it from that view, it's a little easier. It doesn't help you sleep at night, but it's a little easier. Oh my gosh. It's a little easier to handle. All right. So there we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, the rats. All right. Let's hit the we'll hit the use or US aid, you said. We'll hit the US aid pieces here and then we'll finish for tonight on that. So, all right. We've had, of course, as everyone knows now, US aid has been dismantled. It's continuing. When they take the name off the building, it's absolutely not necessary for them to do that. That's a power move to make people be afraid and to humiliate people. That's a humiliation technique. So you don't just pull the name off the building because it's like, well, we got to make room for the next. No, that's not what's going on here. That is like somebody peeing on a tree. All right. That's the equivalent of peeing on a tree is pulling the name of the office off the building. Rats, roaches, and fleas. We got a lot. We got a lot. Or ants. Oh my gosh, the ants. Yeah, true. Here we go. We've got our first one here, American Foreign Service Association versus Trump. Here's our case number. January 20th here issued an order including a 90-day pause in foreign development assistance. Secretary of State issued a stop work order regarding that department. Secretary Rubio was named as acting U.S. Aid administrator. U.S. aid contractors were laid off or furloughed. Musk posted that he had spent the previous weekend feeding U.S. aid to the wood chipper. That's not very nice, is it? I mean, what a jerk. And the headquarters in D.C. was closed. The message was posted to the website. All directly hired USAID staff would be placed on administrative leave at this time. Plaintiffs sued, arguing executive actions either to dissolve USAID or merge it with the State Department are unconstitutional violations of the separation of powers in the Take Care Clause. So Take Care Clause, of course, is in the Constitution where it says that the executive branch will take care to enforce the laws, right? And they're saying, look, you're not. And unlawful under the Administrative Procedure Act by exceeding statutory authority, violating the Further Consolidated Appropriations Act. Again, they're just going forward and doing what they want to do without following the law here. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a big question because, and we're seeing it. He is not following procedural rules. The courts are getting involved now and saying you're not following the rules. And it takes a minute, but once that happens, then the courts will start to rein people in at some point. So, Marco Rubio isn't protected by immunity. All right. So he could be pulled in. And you might say, well, Trump will pardon him. And it might be an open-ended pardon or something along those lines. That's a different kind of situation. If we have the Secretary of State, now let me pose it to you this way. If Mr. Rubio is seen by the court as being in contempt of court for doing his job, so he is illegally doing his job, and Trump comes in and says, well, I'm going to pardon him. So pardon him for any actions regarding this so that he can't be charged criminally. At that point, we have a break in the Constitution, a violation of the Constitution, which takes us to Congress in order to impeach him and remove him from his position. All right. Now, you might say, well, Congress isn't going to impeach. And my question to you is, if we have a Congress where the Secretary of State is in direct violation of the court order, telling him he's in violation of the law, and then pardoned by the president, we're at a point, if Congress will not step up and articles of impeachment, that will be the breaking point. That will be the breaking point. We will not be able to come back from that, everybody. Right. They won't impeach him. That's what scares. I know, Kaya. I know. And what I'm hearing is even the devout Republicans, from what I'm hearing, even the, some of the most hard cut, Republicans are coming out and saying, "Oh my God, we got to follow the rule of law." And if this whole situation puts contempt of court in Rubio's face, and Trump pardons the court's situation and pardons the court order, that's impeachable. So Trump's impeachable, Rubio's impeachable, anybody involved in the situation could be brought in. And if Congress doesn't impeach, yeah, yeah, yeah. And keep calling them every day. Absolutely. Because again, I tell you, the word on the street is at this point, we've got some really old school Republicans who had been big, supporters of the Red Hats. That's no longer the case. And I think we even had, who was it, the Republican that voted against was it the worm guy? Was it the worm guy? There was one. Okay, I'm not saying this correctly, but the turtle man in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, yes. Yes, that's what I was saying. Oh, Willie B, you're reading my brain. Thank you so much. My non-wormed brain. Mitch McConnell, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, are you kidding me? Mitch McConnell's in there saying, "I'm not doing this." Are you kidding me? That's what's going to lead the charge in the Senate. So that's where we're going to see impeachment. And I'm putting my money on, I think absolutely it's possible we may see a full-blown presidential impeachment during this administration. Can I guarantee it? No. But I think we very well might see a full-blown one. The worm guy. Yeah. Was it the worm guy? Was it? Just keep saying Turtleman. Yeah, that's all I know anymore. I don't even remember his name. Mitch McConnell. Oh, thank you. Thanks, chat. This is a turtle from Deep God. I can't help it. I'm sorry. It might be, I don't know. I don't know why I call him a turtle. I've been calling him a turtle for a couple years now. All right, here we go. So, yeah, this is going to be, this is a huge red flag here, is what I'm trying to say. This is a huge red flag. And if this flag doesn't get taken care of, yeah. We're beyond the bunker. Like, I'll be in the bunker, and then we'll be putting it in the ocean and seeing if we can go somewhere with more freedom, like China. Youch. All right, next here we also have the AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition. Again, this is going through that U.S. aid situation. They are suing as well, and I just want to see what the status is down here. They're saying they're waiting for this situation as well. They're suing for declaratory and injunctive relief. Was it Patel? Okay, was it? Yeah, I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember. Yeah, okay. Well, what I remember about Patel was that, was it, I think it was the Anderson case in Colorado where the judge was like, "You're just absolutely not trustworthy. I can't believe anything you just said." I should look that up again. I should look up his testimony. So we've got another group here for the U.S. aid, and then Global Health Council versus Trump is the other case. We've got, it looks like 1, 2, 3 lawsuits going on the U.S. aid situation. Patel is a security risk. Well, and he's right. And he's right. So, all right, let me pause the EOs at this point, everyone, so that I'll remember we can kind of pick up where we left off for the next time. Here, I don't want to forget our spot. But that's quite a bit. We went through quite a bit of the lawsuits, and I do want to make sure to post an update on these, especially those two big ones where we had standing issues. I'll go ahead and put something together kind of explaining the standing. Let me make sure I make a note to myself so I don't forget. Do post on standing here so I don't forget about that. Yeah, Hague Seth, yeah. That was the, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's children's books. I can't do it. I can't look at them. I'm too scared. I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid to do that. Oh my gosh. All right. So, again, these cases are brought from the administrative action that's been going on. You can look this up at justsecurity.org. They're watching all of these cases, which is super helpful. I think the other one is Democracy Docket, is the other website. They do great work over there. And some people might say, oh, democracy. I don't care. Their legal analysis and their cases and how they present stuff is amazing. It's just it's amazing. So Democracy Docket's another really great resource to go to if you're looking for what's going on. We have so many of these lawsuits. Yes, Democracy Docket. Thank you, Navy Vet. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do great work. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They do great work. The other one, okay, wait. So the Talking Feds, is his name Harry? I can't remember. I'm terrible with names, everyone. Forgive me. But the Talking Feds is on YouTube. And I have found he's absolutely one of my favorite creators. Going and talking, Harry Littman. Thank you, VC. Yes, yes, yes. So he's really great, everyone. I would say, let me just write down this so I don't forget. Harry Littman. I love his take on things. He is just every single time he hits it out of the park. Every single time he puts up a post or he goes through the information, every single time it's just right on target. So he's an exceptional creator, in my opinion, an amazing resource. So this is another one, and it's called the Talking Feds. Here is the name. Here's the creator, and then here's the name. And this, for me, I watch him on YouTube. He comes on Midas, but I just go straight in. It's called the Talking Feds. Okay, yeah, I just go straight in and check. He's one of the first places that I go in the morning. After when I'm ready, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get punched in the face, and then I'll sit down. I'm like, all right, what's going on? What's going on with the Talking Feds? He just, like I said, I can't overstate how good he is. He does amazing work. So highly recommend this. Of course, Midas Touch is good, although sometimes it's almost too much, everybody. I'm grateful Midas Touch is here. I think it's a great resource, but I have to say it's hard to watch. So I have to take a break. I have to be like, nah, I need a minute. I do. And what was the other one? I'll have to remember who it was. I can't quite remember. There was another one in here. Let me see if I can pull her name up. But she does some good work too. Thank you for sharing. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, everyone. I am happy to share as best as I can. It's disjointed and ADHD format, but we'll get there. We'll get there to the finish line eventually. So, oh my gosh, I should really make a list. I can't find her name, but I will go ahead at this point and say fairly well, everyone. I am planning to do another live. My next one will probably be over on the TikTok. I'm going to absolutely try to make it tomorrow. And then I'll be back again. So I'll probably just be alternating between here and TikTok just to kind of make sure people on TikTok know that I'm over here. This will eventually be my landing spot. So this is where I'm hoping to build a home. So we will eventually wind up over here, but hopefully you've learned something new tonight, or at least we were able to kind of talk some things out a little bit. There's a lot going on, sure, but one step at a time. Take care, everybody. I will see you all again very soon. Have an amazing night.